And a very pleasant good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you might be watching. It is the Fourth and Goal Show presented by National Bank. Also, a little help there from Professional Door. I'm Rick Watson. He is WFXR's Jermaine Farrell. And Jermaine, here we are talking about week number 4, man, of the high school football season. You said it in week 1. It just kind of speeds up every week, doesn't it? It seems like it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think the high school football season moves at an interesting pace. Here we're on to week 4. A lot of teams are really trying to establish themselves, and you have other teams that are still trying to figure it out. And you got other teams that are, after a tough start, now they're trying to figure it out. So there's so many moving parts with the season, and we'll just see how it goes. But yeah, right now it's a fun time of the year. I mean, obviously one of the big stories, Galax, they injury issues, so they're forfeiting their game with Radford, which, that's a tough thing. It's tough on both sides because
It is.
you're Galax, and this is your second forfeit this year. So you have numbers issues there. For Radford, you get an unexpected off week, which is another tough thing because, they were rocking and rolling, but it's just tough all the way around the board. And now you got to look at your numbers and say, okay, can we continue the season? Because it's one thing to have one forfeit, but to have another one is real tough. So I'm sure there's a lot of decisions that will have to be made down there in the future with Galax when it comes to the rest of the season. And we talked about this before, it's in cycles. So you might have a big class. In fact, I looked in their senior class this year, if not mistaken, they only have like 96 kids in their senior class. Overall, there's about 400 kids that go to Galax, but they have bigger classes. I think their freshman class is like 126 students.
Right.
And I think their sophomore class has nearly 100. So I think that's the thing. Once those numbers move up, it'll probably be a little stronger, especially if they play football. But it'll be interesting to see how it goes the rest of the way with them.
Well, and what's great, too, here locally for us, I hate it for everybody up in Galax right now. They will be back because of those numbers. But the program here where I live in Reiner went through this whole thing, lost 2 seasons basically. And how about that? They're 2-1. They go on the road and get a road win against Fort Chiswell. I mean, the community's so excited. Those kids played so well. And who knows, man, maybe this team's going to do something really special this year.
And they can catch lightning in the ball there. I mean, they could be potentially a playoff team, and that would be neat to see them get back after that. And what a great story. What they're doing there. Coach Scott over there is doing a tremendous job. Like I said, I went over there, and they have numbers. Now, they have a lot of – their players aren't the biggest players in the world, but I'm sure teams would trade numbers for size. Like, I'd rather have – it's kind of like, think about this. You'd rather have – I mean, people say, oh, I have a $100 bill, but you only have one bill, whereas if you have 10 $10 bills, you have 10 bills. So there's – even though it's the same thing, I know that's a weird analogy, but it's kind of the same thing in that regard. So, but that's really a big thing right then and there. So, but yeah, and like I said, programs go through this. There's the smaller ones. The bigger ones really don't. They might have number issues, but you look at a Salem, they're going through injury problems and they're going through players that are no longer on the team there, and that's another thing. So, when they went up against Fleming last week, I mean, it kind of showed their youth. I mean, it was almost kind of like a JV team going against a varsity team. And tough loss for Salem. They're 0-3 for the first time.
Wow.
It says 94. It's the last time they had that record. 97 or 94. They were, it was 94 was the last time they were 0-3 to start the season. And they got a tough one. Dinwiddie, which has been rocking and rolling. Dinwiddie came off a big win over Highland Springs. So Salem goes to Dinwiddie. And, that's going to be a tough game for them down there. I mean, Dinwiddie has just been rocking the scene this year. I mean, they could be a team that could win Class 4 as good as they are. They're one of the best teams in Class 4. So it'll be interesting to see how that game goes. And, that's going to be a tough one down there in Dinwiddie for Salem.
Giles continues to play well. They beat Grundy 52-6. Glenver has been a juggernaut so far. You've highlighted them. They destroyed Cave. Grayson County's playing well. But in your game of the week, WFXR, GW Danville, EC Glass. You mentioned what a great rivalry it is and what a really good, tough football game that was. And Danville knocked off the Hilltoppers 17-13.
Well, actually, that wasn't our game of the week, but it was a good game.
Oh, it wasn't it? Oh, okay. I thought that was your game of the week.
Our game of the week was Patrick Henry and Franklin County.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Well, anyway, it could have been your game of the week.
Yeah. But circling back, EC Glass and George Washington, I mean, those two teams have played for more than 100 times. That was like the 103rd meeting, and that was a close game. And in the end, GW pulled it out 17-13. But that was a game that GW came out and did their thing. Glass showed it too. It seems like the last couple of games, after that Salem game, if you think about it, Glass they scored only 10 points against Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry's defense is pretty good. I think that's something that people probably didn't really realize their defense was that good, and it is. And then GW, I mean, so, Glass has had a tough schedule. I mean, you start off at Salem, you win that game, 27-21. Then you host Patrick Henry, and then you host, you visit GW. And their schedule doesn't get any easier because they got Heritage coming up this Friday. So their schedule doesn't get any easier as they jump into Seminole District play. But, yeah, that was a good game down there, two evenly matched teams. And, that was a key game. We talked about how key that game was when it comes to Region 4D because there's a lot of moving parts in Region 4D. I mean, you look at the Jefferson Force. They are 3-0. They're rocking the scene. They beat Mount Airy, went down to North Carolina and won big, 42-7. So that region is pretty strong. So right now, if you look at that region, I mean, right now, Jefferson Forest is looking pretty good. And then, as you mentioned, the game of the week, Patrick Henry. And
your alma mater, baby. Yeah.
3-0. Patrick Henry came in, played well. I mean, it was, Frank kind of jumped out to their lead, and then PH flexed defensively. In 3 games, they've only given up 3 offensive touchdowns. So for them to do what they've done that way has been really impressive. So, and obviously they'll have a big test coming up this Friday as they take on William Fleming in the battle for the Noah C. Taylor Cup. That's going to be a tremendous game, a tremendous matchup because, and we'll talk about that game a little bit more later, but that's a pretty big matchup. Again, that's another regional game, and the winner of that game is really going to help themselves when it comes to regions. And the fact that if they win, whoever wins that game will help them in the Region 5C standings and ratings points, which, it's big. You got to win those regional games. And if you look at PH's schedule the rest of the way, I mean, this Fleming game is big because they'll have 4 big wins. But looking at the rest of their schedule, they jump into the River Ridge, and there really aren't. There's going to be some opportunities to get points. You figure you would get a lot of points from Salem. Now, if Salem continues the way they're going, they could be a team that probably won't even make the playoffs, but you hope they can turn it around, and they should be able to once they get into River Ridge play because a lot of those games are games they can win. And so you have that. And then if you look at that district, you have Cave Spring, they're winless. Hidden Valley is winless. Blacksburg has improved this year. They're 2-1.
They have.
They're pretty good. Pulaski County, I think they're improving. They're 1-1 right now. And then Christiansburg, although they've struggled this year, they're winless. So you have 3 winless teams, or actually 4 winless district. So point-wise, that could be kind of tough because, again, you want your opponents to do well. So if your opponents do well, that helps your points. But if they're struggling, that getting a win there is a little different ballgame.
Yeah, that's a great point you make. They have to obtain all those points they can. They could get punished just because they have to play their district schedule, and that's not the way it should be, but I get it. That's the way it's set up. It makes sense. You mentioned Williamsburg. They shut out Christiansburg. How about James River winning again? This might be a program that's on the cusp of having a very special 2025. Every time I see their scores, they have a lot of points.
Yeah, well, it was a close game at halftime with Perry McClure. Then James River turned it on in the second half, and they got the win 35-7. Remember, we talk about Jack Baker. Wherever he's gone, he's had success. He's turned around programs. Yeah. So, and he's back home again. Alma mater, his dad coached there. He's a lot of special connections when it comes to James River. But, yeah, they're looking real good. And like I said, James River could be a factor. Now, they got a game against Hidden Valley, a team that, looking on paper should be a victory, but then it's Hidden Valley. You never know what can happen in these games. But if they can win that game against a Class 3 team, they'll give them more points, and you're looking at 3-1. Now, they could be one of those, and if you look at the Three Rivers District, which, again, you got Floyd County looking good. They're undefeated. Glenver is rocking the scene. You can't ever count out Radford. You really can't count out James River. So it could be a battle. And of course, all those teams are classed. They're in the same region. So Region 2C, I mean, when teams start improving and looking good, that could help that region. And it's going to be, that's going to be a battle for that regional title and the district title all the way around the board there in Region 2C, especially when you have teams looking as good as they are.
Big win for Lord Botetourt over Alta Vista. You talked about that game last week, 49-21. And Lord Botetourt just keeps on keeping on, don't they?
Yep. I mean, they again, and then we talk about that region 3D, which is it's a loaded. But you got Magna Vista undefeated, Lord Botetourt's undefeated, William Byrd's undefeated, Abingdon is undefeated. You got Stanton River, which is a sneaky team. They face Pulaski. Stanton River's 2-1, and their only loss. Stanton River's only loss was to JF. So Region 3D is stout. I mean, you got those games there. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening out there right now. In Northside, don't forget Northside. They're 3-0, and they're in Region 3D. So that region, I mean, there's not going to be an easy out when you get to the playoffs and we see the combinations and the matchups, because it's not going to be an easy out for anybody. It never really is in the playoffs, but especially in that region. I mean, you still have Bassett lurking around. They could be, a factor. So in that region, Rick, there's so many tough regions, and that's why you play these games early to get you ready for that. And then a lot of these teams are going to play each other in district play, and they could cannibalize each other that way. So there's a lot, Rick, that's out there, and we've only kind of scratched the surface considering the fact we only have a small sample size. I mean,
that's right.
Teams,
that's right.
A third of their season's already in the books. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams can maintain and keep going. But there's going to be some tremendous matchups in the Blue Ridge. I mean, think about it. I mean, you got William Fleming in that, even though they're 5C, but that district, that's going to be a battle in that district to see who does what.
And one more to talk about before we get into this week's Farrell's 5. I mean, and for Radford, they had their bye week, and now they don't get to play this week. So it can be good in a way to get healthy, but this early in the year, I don't know. We'll see how advantageous or disadvantage that was for Radford, looking back at this section where they had an extra week off there that they didn't plan for.
Yeah, and then you look at them. I mean, look at a Liberty Christian. I mean, they've had 2 straight weeks off because obviously scheduling is tough, finding opponents. But it's just tough when that pops in because it's an unexpected week. You're preparing for a game, but then you get a forfeit. So
right.
you gotta keep your players. Can you keep your players sharp? Can you keep them, in the mix? And that's gonna be another thing there. Can you keep those players going? And that's really the big thing, because you have teams, you get an unexpected turn there. That's gonna be hard.
All right, so now we get to Farrell's 5, and each and every week I learn Farrell's 5 as you learn Farrell's 5. I have no idea. I get excited looking up and down the list trying to guess, but we go from the bottom up from WFXR's Jermaine Farrell. And here we go. What is number 5 this week on your games you're highlighting?
Well, for number 5, I got Magna Vista at 3-0 visiting 2-1 Franklin County, which is a pretty good matchup. Now, what's interesting, Rick, this series is tied at 13, so that's even. 27th meeting. Now, Magna Vista won the last 2 meetings, including last year at home, 40-21. Franklin County last one in the series. They got to go back to September 16th. So a little bit more than 3 years ago, 2022, they won at home 40-0. Now, last week, Magna Vista won at home over Rustburg, 41-13. Franklin County lost at home to Patrick Henry, 36-14. Magna Vista has only given up 13 points all season, including 2 shutout wins. Franklin County is off to their best start since spring of 2021 when they went 4-0. So that should be a pretty good matchup at Cy Dillon Stadium. There's Franklin County's second straight test. Tough game. They face Magna Vista. That's a 7 o'clock kickoff down there at Cy Dillon Stadium on the campus of Franklin County High School in Rocky Mount for number 5.
That's a great one to start off with. And that's number 5, folks. Tells you what a great slate we have here week 4. All right. Moving on up the ladder, number 4 this week on Farrell's top 5 games.
Well, we're going to go to Casey Field up in Covington, a battle of unbeatens. It's 3-0 Stanton taking on 2-0 Allegheny. First ever meeting between the teams. These are 2 district mates now. Now, last week, Allegheny won at Greenbrier East West Virginia, 36-26. Stanton River won at home over Rockbridge County, 14-7. As I mentioned, this is the first ever meeting between the teams. This is the first Shenandoah District game for the Cougars of Allegheny. Allegheny, they've won their last 17 regular season games. So that's a pretty good streak going on right now. As Stanton's another good team. They used to be the old R.E. Lee Stanton, but they changed the name to Stanton High School. So pretty good matchup. Allegheny in their third year of existence, and they have really been rocking the scene. And what they've talked about in Allegheny is, okay,
They have.
here, let's see if we can go and try to get playoff wins now, because now they have really established something, and they're going to be a factor in Region 3C. Of course, that region features local teams like Heritage and Rustburg and Brookville. So, and LCA, of course, the defending state champs. So that region is going to be tough. And then there's teams kind of in that Shenandoah Valley area. So pretty good matchup at Casey Field in Covington. A battle of unbeatens. Stanton 3-0, taking on 2-0 Allegheny. 7 o'clock kickoff on a Friday.
All right, so that is game number 4 on Farrell's 5 as we go up to game number 3 now as we get ready to crack into the top 2 here in just a sec.
Well, we're going to go to Independence and Bill Strong Field. It's a battle there. 2-0 Floyd County visiting 2-1 Grayson County. Now, Grayson County leads the series 12-7. Last year, Grayson County won at Floyd by a big margin, 42-15. Floyd's last win in the series, you got to go back to September 10th, 2021. They won at home 12-6. Now, last week, Floyd County won at home over Blacksburg. A pretty good win there, 32-20. Grayson County, they won at Tazewell in a big way, 45-3. Now, this is the first of 4 straight road games for Floyd County. So, they've won at home, but now they got to go on the road. Floyd trying to go 3-0 for the first time since 2017 when they got off to a 4-0 start. This is Grayson County's first home game on the season. They started with 3 road games. So this is their first home game over at Bill Strong Field. Should be a good one down there in Independence. Floyd County 2-0 at 2-1 Grayson County. 7 o'clock kickoff Friday from Independence.
All right, man. We've had 3 great games already. Still 2 more ranked ahead of this as we get to the second place finisher on Farrell's 5 this week in week number 4.
Okay, we're going to go over to Merrill Gaynor Field over at Patrick Henry High School. It's the battle for the Noel C. Taylor Cup. William Fleming 2-1 at 3-0 Patrick Henry. Now, PH leads this series 39-32-4. Fleming, of course, broke, won for the first time in the regular season since 2014 when they won at home last year, 41-13. Now, this game, again, it's a 5 o'clock kickoff. They've only limited the tickets to 1,500, so you've already had to get your tickets online because they won't sell them at the gate. Now, last week, William Fleming won at home over Salem 34-13 to get their second straight win over Salem and second straight win on the season. Patrick Henry won at Franklin County 36-14. So this is PH's first home game. All 3 of PH's wins have been on the road this year. Both teams each have a shutout on the season. So this is going to be a big-time matchup. And keep in mind, like Fleming has won the last 2 matchups, that playoff upset that they had over Merrill Gaynor Field. And then last year they won again at home. So I'm sure Fleming is feeling a certain way, and PH definitely feels a certain way. They want to get back on a winning streak against Patrick Henry, but this should be a tremendous matchup. City rivalry, bragging rights on the line, the Noel C. Taylor Cup. It's the battle on Grandin Road, baby. They're going to get it done over there. It's Patrick Henry and William Fleming, that game over again in Merrill Gaynor Field. Kickoff on that game set for 5 o'clock Friday over there at Patrick Henry High School.
Easily one of the top 5 best rivalries in all of our region of high school football. You played in it, you lived it, that's a special game. The city rivalry is a special game, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not one of those like hated rivalries. I mean, yeah, you want to beat them, and there's a lot of mutual respect because, again, these kids grew up together. They probably played Sandlot or they played middle school. So these kids know each other. I mean, it's like it's not like they don't. And that's what happens with a lot of rivalries, particularly inner city rivalries. These kids know each other so well. And it's a fun rivalry. And there's a lot of trash talk, but in a positive manner. Because after the game, there's going to be respect between these 2 teams. And it's good, when you have a rivalry and both teams are good. That's the key. I think when you have a rivalry game and both teams are good, and both
That's right.
teams are going to battle. That's what makes it fun. Like if you look at in the history of rivalries, like back in the day, in the 80s and into the 90s when Pulaski County and Salem played each other, you knew that was good on good all the time. You knew that one team wasn't going to blow out the other team. And now there are some rivalries that are a little more lopsided than others where you go and say, okay, team A is going to be better than team B.
That's right.
But,
That's right.
and some rivalries are just quirky. Like even we get off topic. I mean, Heritage and EC Glass, they play for the Jug Bowl, which is
Right.
which isn't on the top five. But looking at that game real quick, and I'll pull it up real quick on my notes. But when you look at that game of Heritage and EC Glass, I thought I had my notes here, but hold on, let me look at it real quick. But yeah, when you look at that game, Heritage and EC Glass, when you look at it, yeah, I got it right here. All right, so again, two teams like Glass is 1-2, Heritage is 1-1. You throw the records out the window. Battle for the Jug, real quick. EC Glass leads the series 33-29-1. Glass won the last two meetings, including last year's 17-13 at City Stadium. Heritage last one in the series. You got to go back September 16, 2022, and that was a 12-0 win by Heritage. It's kind of weird. Heritage kind of controlled it for a stretch recently, but Glass has gotten back on the good side of this rivalry. Of course, Glass lost last week to George Washington 17-13. Heritage won at home over Appomattox 42-14. But that should be a pretty good game. But that's not the number one game on Farrell's 5, though. But just one
because
game.
It's coming right now. Here we go, folks. Number one, at the apex of the ladder.
Well,
clean the gutters if you're on top of it, like game number one here on Farrell's 5.
I can tell you right now, a team in green and gold will win in this game. It's 3-0 Glenver at 3-0 Northside. That's going to be Viking Stadium, Jim Hickam Field, which, by the way, I did some research on Jim Hickam, and I didn't realize this. He was the head football coach, if I'm not mistaken, at the old Pulaski. No, was it the old Pulaski or the old Dublin? It was one of the high schools down there. I think he
I want to say Pulaski.
Yeah, all right. So he was the Pulaski Orioles, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
So he was the head coach, and I think what Coach Hicks, the head coach at Dublin, right? Does that sound right? Was he the head coach at Dublin? Yeah, Coach Hicks.
Dave Brown was the head coach at Dublin for many years, and then he took over the Pulaski County job when they consolidated.
Right. Thanks for correcting me on that. I just want to. I know you're big on being factual on things, but it's interesting.
Dave Brown. Yeah,
that's right. But it's interesting. Then he became the head football coach at Northside, and the field's named after him. And of course, it's fun because Joel Hicks and Jim Hickam, I mean, they were really close. I mean, Absolutely. They knew each other. It's funny how these coaches are, and obviously there's a lot of history, with that. But anyway, I know we're going back in the day, which is fine. We can do that. But
yeah.
When you look at think about all these fields, Rick, and I'll get into Game Week, I promise. Think of who these fields are named after. Joel Hicks has a field named after him. Willis White has a field named after him. Jim Hickam. These are legendary coaches. I mean, Merrill Gaynor or Patrick Henry, all these are state championship coaches. And there's a reason why they named the field after because of the success. Right. Willis White was Merrill Gaynor's defensive coordinator at Patrick Henry before he took over to take the job of Patrick Henry.
Right.
So there's so many connections with all these coaches. But it's just great to talk about history like that. I'm a history guy. To this day, and I just found out this week that Jim Hickam was a head coach at Pulaski. I did not know that, which is crazy, isn't it? Because there's the Facebook pops up these like Virginia high school history or legends things, and you see all the old clippings. Whoever's in charge of that, I tell you, they do a great job. I mean, David Mabry does some contributions to that page, and there's so much history, old clippings from the old
clippings.
You say, wow, that's some good stuff. But anyway, I digress. Let me get back at the topic.
No, that's fine. It's great to talk about. Yeah, let's get back to number one. You're right. The green and gold. It's going to be great.
Hey, Jermaine, talk about number one. Okay. So it's Glenver again at Northside, both 3-0 over at Viking Stadium, Jim Hickam Field. Northside, this is the second ever meeting there. Northside leads the series 1-0. The last meeting, you got to go back to September 5th, 1969. That's the last time these two teams met. And at that time, Glenver was under the Glenver was under the Salem. I think Salem and Glenver, the school systems were under the Roanoke County umbrella, and then I think Glenver Salem broke off, create their own school district and all that. But that's a lot of information. But Northside won that game 40-0. Last week, Glenver won at home over K-Spring 49-3. Northside won at Hidden Valley 59-0. Now, both teams have been strong on defense and offense. Glenver, they've outscored their opponents 175-3. They have yet to give up a touchdown all season.
Wow.
So that's and like I said, I mean, that's they only give up 3 points. So you're averaging a point a game, basically, when you talk about
Yeah.
Now, they have 2 shutouts, and they haven't, as I mentioned, given up a touchdown all season. Northside, they've outscored their opponents 135-20. Those 20 points came from your alma mater, Pulaski County, the Cougars. The Cougars were the only team to score so far on Northside. They got the 20 points in the opener that Pulaski County dropped to Northside 49-20. And they've shut out their last 2 opponents. So Northside hasn't given up a point since their opener. And this is going to be interesting because Brody Doyot, one heck of a quarterback. Yeah, and then Casey Hall on the other side from Northside. This is just a great matchup. And I think this is going to be one of those games. I mean, I know they're in 2 different divisions, but quarterback, I mean, Glenver has Brody Doyot, who's going to Charlotte. And heck, he could probably go to if another school offers him that's of bigger caliber could offer him.
Yeah.
But this is going to be one heck of a matchup. I'm really looking forward to this as our game of the week. I mean, any one of our games on this list could have been game of the week, but we have 2 undefeated teams, and it's going to be good on good. You're going to have defense versus offense. We have 2 teams that are strong on defense. Something's got to give. This could be one of those 17-13 type games, or heck, it might be a game you see a lot of points. So when you have a game like this, Rick, it's just going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But it's going to be a fun one. 7 o'clock. It's a county rivalry, too. I think we're going to get a large crowd there. Northside hosting Glenver, a battle of 3-0 teams.
All right, so there you go, folks. The 5 best games. Jermaine Farrell has analyzed it. Those are Farrell's 5 for this week. And get clued in every week. It's been a long time since the heyday of Friday Football Extra that we've had anybody cover high school football to the depth and to the complete detail that WFXR and the Friday Night Blitz does. It is now the #1 source. Folks, you should go there. They update the scores after the show. You can go right there to the WFXR Friday Night Blitz, click on it, bookmark it, have it. You can see the shows, the old shows. It's great. Jermaine, you and your staff have taken it to a great level, and the schools deserve it. The communities deserve it. And just want to say thank you for paying such close attention that you guys do to high school football. It means a lot.
Well, Rick, I appreciate your kind words. I mean, it's a responsibility we have. We have a lot of support from the station, WFXR, the administration, Ben Oldham, my general manager, also my news director, Tom Brewer, my assistant news director, and Sarah White. They do such a tremendous job in supporting and giving us the resources. You know, our production department does a tremendous job. Kara Simpkins, who is our director of operations for Blitz, she's taken that and run with it. Our promotions department promotes the show. So it's a team effort. I mean, you know, no one does anything alone. No one does anything by themselves. And
right.
To see what we've built over the last decade with this show, it's been impressive, and we take it seriously. We have a great cadre of shooters that go out and they really improved. I mean, we have some shooters that are rookies, have never shot a game.
Yeah.
And over the last couple of games and over the last few years, they get excited. Hey, what game am I going to? What am I going to cover? So it's a fun time. And, of course, we will have a highlights of a dozen, 12 games. Miriam Chamberlain will be at our game of the week, which is Glenver and Northside. Ryan Moy will be at the Noel C. Taylor Classic battle between William Fleming and Patrick Henry, and we'll be spread out throughout the whole area. We'll get you the highlights. We'll have scores too. So fun time. Again, it'll be Friday at 11:30 on WWCW, and we'll be streaming and on our Facebook page on WXRT.com. And then, of course, our game will air right after the college football game we have tonight on WFXR. So a lot of good stuff. And, of course, we're rocking and rolling with the scene, but obviously – to have your support, Rick, means a lot. Nothing but respect for what you're doing. By the way, one other note, if you guys have not subscribed to the Big Dog Sports Talk YouTube page, please do. We're knocking on the door, or not
We are.
He is knocking on the door.
No, you're part of we. You're part of we. Yes. We're 18 away. 18 away from 500.
18. So as of this recording, 18, which we'll probably get
Correct.
to. Please subscribe. It's free. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to do anything. Subscribe to his Facebook page. I'm sorry. He'll have it on his Facebook page, but go to the
Correct.
YouTube channel and you can watch. Here's a cool thing. You can watch all the previous episodes. I mean, he's got a great show with Mr. Smith, as well as himself.
They're all there. Yeah.
All the shows are there. So if you want to watch anything, if you want to watch previous episodes of Fourth and Goal, if you want to watch a show with Friday with the Big Dog Sports Talk. I mean, we're like I said, it's a great thing. He's rocking the scene. So please log on it. Help Rick continue to grow this thing and help him succeed, because he's rocking the scene. And it's guys like him that make this industry great. So thank you, Rick Watson.
Well,
you do.
Way too kind.
It's greatly appreciated. And like I said, you are a conduit, and you have great guests on your show. I mean, you have an all-star lineup on your shows. I mean, it's kind of like, it's like a who's who, And the thing is, and I know I'm getting off topic. We're not talking, but I really mean this. When you have, all these guests, I mean, like Dwight Vick, what he said was awesome. I mean, so you have guests and they're in the know. I mean, it helps to have people, different points of view, different viewpoints, different people from different walks of life. That's what makes, your show's like a buffet.
It is. I like that. Yeah.
It's a buffet. So you have options. So congratulations on what you're doing, Rick. I'm very proud of you, and just keep up the good work, and I'll stop blubbering and blabbing. But
no, thanks, brother. It means a lot. It means a lot coming from you. Trust me. I take it to heart. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody who watched. Thanks to Jermaine Farrell. Check out Friday Night Blitz. Thanks to National Bank, Professional Door. Thanks to everybody. And go enjoy a ball game tonight. Support your team. Hope everybody stays safe. We'll have great games to talk about again next week, reviewing and previewing week number 5. Until then, this has been the Fourth and Goal Show. That's right. Number 5 coming up. Farrell's 5 on week number 5 next week. Everybody take care. God bless. We'll see you next week.